This video is an excerpt from our weekly podcast. Go and watch the full podcast, check the link in the description of this video, or support us on Patreon at patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. Biomutant. So you reviewed it, you liked it. Other people reviewed it, they didn't like it. It's weird. I've played 5 hours or so of it. You finished it? Let's talk about it.
Well, where do you stand first? Do you think you like it, or do you think you dislike it, or are you somewhere in the middle?
There's so much to unpack, right? Because it's a huge game. It's a AA game. It's all about expectations, I feel. I feel like this whole Biomutant, whether you're going to like it or not, is based on your expectation for this game. If you're expecting a large, sprawling, open world Ubisoft type game where there's loads of stuff to do, and I think Biomutant isn't that. I think if you're expecting that, that's not what this is. This is a game which is aiming for a different crowd. I feel I like the game in parts, and I dislike some other parts of the game. Can we talk about a few of the specifics? A lot of people disliked the open worldy, how it was. A lot of people said it was empty. I don't really agree with that.
It doesn't have activities, so to speak. It's not like there's mini games of go over here and go into the pub and talk to people. The map by the end is full of stuff. It's full of little side mission things. Granted, most of them are just collect these items or whatever. Again, people don't like that, but I wouldn't say the map is empty of things to do at all.
There's some things that I do like, right? The character that I chose was the Psi Freak, and I put all my points into the Psi abilities and my agility. So I'm really fast as and I'm a ranged specialist, spamming the enemies with my Psi abilities, which is so overpowered. I've seen a lot of places that the combat is easy. However, I enjoy the combat to a certain extent, but there is a disclaimer. I think the enemies are a little bit too spongy. I don't feel like the powers level well, and I think in terms of the amount of powers, this is an RPG, right? There's 8 Psi abilities, there's 8 biogenetics ability things. I don't think that's enough for a game of this scale. You got 50 levels as a character, right? I think it could have done with more. Not that I dislike the combat. The combat is fun and it's engaging, and I want to do more of it. Again, going back to the expectations thing, AA game like this, there is a limited amount of stuff for RPG abilities, and that don't seem to level as I do as much as I'd like them to. There's no variations on them. Just like to have seen a little bit more.
Also, I think your point there about because it's a smaller team and therefore they can't do amazing RPG stuff. I think that's an interesting conversation, because just because it's indie doesn't mean you have to like it, and just because it's indie doesn't mean you have to dislike it. And even though it's not really indie, it's that AA kind of weird space. Popular criticism I seem to be seeing is that it does all of these different things, but it doesn't do any of them perfectly. I can see that, but I think it absolutely has amazing, perhaps perfect crafting. The crafting is what kept me playing. The resource gathering loop of going to an area, scavenging shit, and all of it is useful. It's loot that feels different. At least I thought. I 100% get that some people thought the combat didn't have a lot of weight. A lot of the criticisms I don't even disagree with. The reason I say it's currently my game of the year, that may change. We're only about halfway through the year at this point. It was fun. It's the most fun I've had in a game this year, and to me that's all that matters. I really enjoyed being able to zip around, but I had one magic ability where it's like a dash, but it leaves like a streak of fire behind you, so I do that, put them in a triangle, and then just shoot the fuck out of them. I found that constantly engaging. I wanted something zippy. That's what I thought it was, and like you said, managing expectations is how you think a game is good or bad, and it's not even really the game's fault. I think no one knew about it for years. It had a reveal trailer and then vanished. For a long ass time they went silent, but then over the past few months THQ's really pumped up the marketing and has put the game on a lot of people's radar, and I think perhaps that's got the game overhyped too quickly, if that makes sense. It's gone from 0 to not quite 100, because not everyone's going to be talking about it, but 0 to 70 maybe. There was a lot of buzz. It was trending for a bit, which is quite a big deal for a game like this, and I think unfortunately a lot of people may feel like they've been misled by such a dramatic, highly edited, flashy trailers and whatnot.
I don't think people will feel misled. I think when you're marketing a game like this, it's a double-edged sword. You want most people to get excited about it as much as possible, but you don't really want to misrepresent your game. I don't think there's anything misrepresented. I think there was a lot kind of expected that wasn't shown, like the RPG side of things and the open world. That those are the unanswered questions going into the game, where answer them now, and they're just shy of AAA standard. That's all it is. I think what is there is for a decent standard. I played on PC. I've had no performance issues. I've had no, the game itself for an open world game has played really well. They haven't hidden anything from me in the marketing. It's just not as fully fleshed out in some areas.
Yeah. I think it looks, because obviously all trailers will show off the best polished version, and because this is a smaller development team striving for something really big, you can't fault their ambition. I mean, they really tried to do arguably too much, but I feel like some people expected this to be, I don't know, maybe more polished is the word, cleaner or fleshed out or something. I don't know. I think that people just expected a bit more, and that, again, it's not through any fault of their own. If you watch a trailer, you're like, oh, cool.
Shall we jump into some of the specific reviewers and then just like hash it out as we go through?
Also, I don't have loads written down because I didn't want to do like a full review roundup. On PC it's 67, on PS4 it's 62, and on Xbox it's 68. And again, 6 out of 10 doesn't mean terrible, at least in my opinion. For a lot of people, as soon as they see anything yellow on Metacritic, they're like, oh, it's trash. I'm like, well, maybe just try it yourself, or read beyond a fucking number, which is why I refuse to do review scores. But if I was to give it one, I would probably give it a 6 or a 7. How can it still be my game of the year, you may ask? Because I had fun. It's the most fun I've had with a game all year. Granted, it's been quite a quiet year. I've not played Returnal because I don't own a PS5. I've not played Resident Evil 8 because we're still trying to find out when the hell me and my mates can find time to actually do it together. Anyway, so some of the biggest outlets. IGN gave it a 6, PC Gamer gave it a 60, Games Radar gave it a 3 out of 5, which again is 6, GameSpot gave it a 6, and Game Informer gave it a 6.5. So they're all in the same sort of brackets, which that doesn't surprise me. I don't even disagree with it. But the thing is, a lot of people still really like it. On just the PC side, there are 20 positive reviews, 26 mixed reviews, and then 6 negative. So there's still a decent amount of people who thoroughly enjoyed it. There's 9s, there's a 95 from GameSpace, an 85 from Worth Playing. Neither of those are outlets I'm particularly familiar with, but you'd be foolish to base your entire opinion on one review. And I have a love-hate relationship with reviews because I like writing them, I like producing them, I like reading them, but I do feel like people, as in the consumer, puts far too much stock in just one. I don't mean this in any bad way whatsoever, but one person's name keeps coming up, and it's not through any fault of their own. They're very good at what they do, and that person is SkillUp. SkillUp fucking hated it. Not a problem with that. He's allowed his opinion. When I watched his after publishing mine, couldn't really have disagreed much more. We are totally opposite ends of the spectrum, and that's totally fine. And he's got to the point he is in the on YouTube for being really, really good at what he does. And he's probably the biggest independent game reviewer, or at least the one whose name I see popping up anytime any game is reviewed. His name will be somewhere in the comments. However, I think, again, through no fault of his own, because he is so good at what he does, people then will take whatever his thing is, and then that's the opinion. That's the internet's opinion of the week.
I've seen that. I've seen that in our reviews. Like he said,
that's
very
exactly
specific things about
the
sound being poor, and about other things being poor, and people use that as ammunition. I think that if you don't have a good impression of a game, you don't enjoy a game. Reviewers have a hard time, especially with open world games, and I think that maybe I don't want to do him a disservice because I do love his channel. I absolutely love his channel. I love his content. But when it comes to Biomutant, it feels like he just doesn't like it and he's piling on. He's like he's picking it to shreds essentially, and he's okay. He didn't like the game, and he's got to represent that in his review. I totally grant that to him. But it does smell a little bit like he's expecting a lot more, and this goes for all the other reviewers as well. They're expecting something different. It looks like a cutesy new type of fresh looking game that is going to bring something new to the table, and then all it is, and in air quotes, is this cute little game which isn't as hardcore as we wanted it to be, isn't as fleshed out as we wanted it to be. It doesn't kind of realize some of the ambition that it wanted to realize, and they feel let down, so they're just gonna, the audio is bad, the world isn't full, the combat isn't impactful enough. Because they've got a downer on the game, they pick all the negative points out of the game and just emphasize those rather than trying to stay a little bit objective and fulfill the main criteria for a reviewer, which is tell people who would enjoy this game, not say, I don't like this game, don't buy this game. The point of a review is, would the reviewer like this game? I feel like there's a lot of people out there who will enjoy this game. For example, I think that the more casual casual open world fan who doesn't like the complexity and depth of some other open worlds and who just wants a basically simple gameplay loop.
The game is only rated age 12, so it is available to kids. So that's part of the demographic is younger people.
I would say that it's the main demographic.
Yeah.
I mean, judging by the way it's all presented, you know,
It's
with the
whimsical
narrator
and colourful and silly.
and it's got just so much thrown in there, good and the bad, and the morality system. You can do bad things. You can do really fucked up bad things in it, by the way. I think the whole packaging of it, you can see kids having fun with this, especially with all the introduction, the tutorials and all the backstory and everything the way that it delivers all the information to you is very child friendly, and I think that is some of its main appeal. It holds your hand the whole time.
It's like baby's first RPG, you know. It's like early days Zelda where you don't have to worry about anything. They're going to walk you through it.
I think the gameplay is fun. There's a few things that niggle at me about the game, like you can't swim. That's so annoying. Like,
yeah, that pissed me off.
The other bugbear for me is the menu screens and the leveling up. It's like, you know, the resistance abilities that you've got down the bottom, like there's little icons of like fire and earth or whatever. If you mouse over it, you expect some information. No, you got to press the button I for it to come up with another menu for you to click on something to find out what the resistance is and all that is. I think that could have been done a lot better, and I think the general attention to detail isn't there. I think this is just indicative of the whole way the game was built. I think there was just a lot of ideas thrown into the mix, and it just wasn't like finely crafted or like just finely tuned. Like I said, it's just a little niggle. It doesn't detract from the gameplay.
I think there's loads of little things like that, like little quality of life things, or it could have done with a little tune up here, a little bit of jank there. If you have a low tolerance for that sort of thing, or you can't get behind something else in the game, all of those things will add up and up and up and up. For me, they didn't add up because I find the zippy combat of like switching between melee guns and magic really rewarding, and going into a building, finding loot that is actually useful. Oh, I do want to read this one extract of a review because it's such a bad fucking take, and I totally disagree with this one. This is from a site I've never heard of before called Quarter to 3, and it's currently the lowest numbered rating on Metacritic, which is 1 out of 5. I don't care what you think about this game. It is not a 1 out of 5 game, okay? You can absolutely hate it. It's not a 1 out of 5, all right?
Yeah.
Because it works. You can turn it on. So this person says, this is like their conclusive paragraph. Biomutant is what happens when someone makes a Ubisoft game, but without Ubisoft's resources, experience, talent, or even willingness to take risks. With the exception of the art design, everything about Biomutant feels safe and familiar, but without the confidence or polish needed to make it effective. Safe, familiar, and hopelessly lost in the detritus-littered wasteland between design document and actual game. Willingness to take risks is what's really got me fucking hung up on this. This is a massively fucking risky game. One of the biggest divisive features is the dialogue and how literally every single creature in the game speaks in literal gibberish. That pissed off a lot of people because it means that all of your conversations can take quite a long time, and it is all exposition heavy. None of the characters have character because they are being voiced by this one person. Valid criticism. That is a massive fucking risk. And evidently it didn't pay off for a lot of people. It's very unique in it, like just the way it looks. It's all these little cutesy animals and they're all like weird and ugly. Saying this game is risk-free, I think, is utter bullshit. It's full of little things, little experiments. Not all of them land. Some of them will for you, some of them won't. But saying that this is without risk, I think is bonkers. 1 out of 5, and saying it doesn't take any risks, you're full of shit. I 100% disagree with that more than anything I've read. But to be fair, like I said, that's the lowest of the Metacritic reviews. I think this is a wider point about reviews in general because, like I said earlier, I have a love-hate relationship with reviews and stuff, and I would hope that this is one of those games where it will encourage people to check multiple sources, but I just know it won't. You just know people will pick, people who are probably never going to play the game will pick, all right, this is what this person I like says, so this is my opinion on it now. You can't have an opinion on it if you haven't played it, as far as I'm concerned. For anything, you can have like a feeling of like, this looks cool or this looks bad, but you don't know. This is when it really annoys me. Anytime anyone posts a review, like pre-launch day, like on embargo day, there's people saying, oh, the game's shit. You don't fucking know. You ain't played it. What are you talking about? Shut your face.
Yeah, one reviewer does a bad review and then, oh, the game's shit. You should,
Look at other people. Look at mainstream outlets like your IGNs and shit, and then look at your independent ones like SkillUp or ACG. He's really good. He's very, very, very thorough. Listen to other people, and I put this as my pinned comment. I understand that I'm more positive on this than most people, so look at other people too. Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong. I probably am. I'm wrong about most things in my life. It reminds me of the situation with a game like Days Gone. Loads of of critics didn't like Days Gone. Loads of people, like players, don't like Days Gone, but it's got its following. It has people who do really like it, and I think Biomutant is going to fall into a similar cult-like space. It's going to get a dedicated fan base.
I mean, when I was playing the game, I only started playing it yesterday, right? But I'd watched the reviews, I'd read a lot of reviews, and I was expecting it. I was like, oh shit, I've spent 40 quid on this game now. You know, it's not going to be good. I'm not going to enjoy this. So I played it, and I'm like, this is actually all right. Like, what is it? Why am I enjoying this game? I'm supposed to not like this game. I've read the reviews. I've seen that Henry obviously likes it, but everyone else doesn't like it.
It enters your mind for a moment. You're like, am I stupid?
Yeah.
Am I missing something? But then that thought is fleeting and quickly fucks off. It's like, well, no, people just don't like it. That's fine. I mean,
granted, I was skipping all the dialogue because after a certain amount of that and skipping the exposition, I'm just not interested in that in this game. That isn't why I'm playing this game. That isn't why. That's what I'm doing. And if you're looking for like that kind of game that engages you in a story and you're my age, then this isn't the game for you. If you're maybe 13, 14 years old or younger than that, then this might be a really good game. I mean, the whole theme of the game is about
environmentalism and
environmental change and how the world is changing and like how you're surviving through this and how to repair the world.
It's not subtle.
In terms of the reviews, why people are reviewing it badly is because they expect previous open world games and they're comparing this game to all these other open world games. I feel like if this game wasn't an open world game, if it was like a smaller, highly curated game where its focus was just on the crafting, combat, it would have been received a lot better. If you take the open world tag out of it, and so the reviewers don't compare this game with all the other open world games that they've played, I think this game gets a better shake of the stick. I think
it's only natural for them to compare it, but I know exactly what you mean.
I mean, to me, it's not an open world game. That's not why I'm playing it. It's not an open world RPG game, right? That's not why I'm playing this game. I'm playing this game for action crafting game. Pretty chilled out, pretty easy and a fun time. And
that's what I described it. I said it's the wildest chill out game ever because it's got this sort of spiritual tone about the martial arts of the world, and it's it wants to be peaceful, and then these monsters are disrupting that peace, and it's your responsibility to fix it. So I think playing it leisurely, like a little bit here, a little bit there. Oh, there's a building over there. Let's go raid it. Oh, look, I can build a new gun. I think that's the way this game should be consumed, and obviously you can't control how people consume it. I think that's part of the reason it's not reviewed so well. The review process is a pain in the ass. You have to rush through it. If you think you'd like it, you like the look of it, then totally check it out. I recommend it. I thought it was fun. And I'm telling you, the crafting is the one, man. It has the best weapon crafting system I've ever played, and I will continue saying that until I find one better. Well, this week I also bought Days Gone on PC. I was just like, man, if this game had Biomutant's crafting system, if The Last of Us had Biomutant's crafting system, for any game where you're in an apocalypse and you're scavenging shit, copy that crafting and the way it's all physically represented. It constantly wants you to recycle, which bounces off the environmental themes and everything. That completely hooked me. It evidently didn't hook that many other people. Totally fine, but I got it.
Thanks for watching this video. If you want to go and watch the full podcast, head to the description of this video and you'll find a link to our new podcast channel, or head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming and get early access.